Welcome to the Leapfrog BI sample project video series. My name is Paul Felix, and in this video we're going to be talking about the stage component. The stage component's purpose is to move data from wherever it's being sourced from to a controlled staging area. During each execution of the deployed process, the stage table is going to be truncated by default. Let's jump right in and build a component. The first thing I'm going to do is log in, and I'm going to verify that I am currently have the project that I want to work on as my current project. So in this case I only have one project here. You can see that Leapfrog BI sample project is my current project because it's displayed up here. So I'll move over to the Component tab to actually create the stage component. Now, one thing that I need to point out is that Leapfrog BI is going to create all of the objects that you need with the exception of the database itself. So to demonstrate this, I want to just move over to Management Studio and show you this sample project in its end state. So these four databases here, Console, March, Stage, and Transform, are the four databases that we're actually going to be deploying or creating objects in. The databases themselves have to be created manually. So you have to just go New Database, give it a name, whatever you want to call it, and you have your database. Leapfrog BI is then going to use that database whenever you select a connection that points to the database to place the objects or create objects within it. The database we're going to be first working with is this AdventureWorks Replay Stage database. So just for simplicity's sake here, I'm going to copy that database name, and I'm going to move back over to my Leapfrog BI interface, and I'm going to go to the connection component type and create a new component. This will be clear why we're doing this here in just a second. So I want to create a connection which is going to be the destination for the stage component that I'm about to create. And of course the first thing I need to do is select a template to base that connection on. In this case I'm using a SQL Server destination, so I'm going to select my SQL Native Client 10 template. Now if you remember back in for the profile video, we talked a little bit about defining the life cycles in our project. And in this case, we have three life cycles. We have a development, quality assurance, and a production life cycle. And because of that, those same life cycles are listed here within the connection definition. I'm going to go ahead and fill this out. Okay, I've given this connection a friendly name, AWR, AdventureWorks Replay Stage Database, given it a description. And I've also filled out each of the connections for each of the life cycles that are part of this project. Now, of course, you don't have to fill out all of these details up front if you don't want to. You could maybe just fill out development if that's where you're starting, and then later on filling out the other life cycles. In any case, you just need to fill out the form, and your connection's ready to be saved. Okay, so now I have a connection component type, which is called AWR Stage. It's the only connection component that I have in place right now. I can see that I used the SQL Native Client 10 provider to create this connection. And if I needed to later go in here and edit this connection, it's simple enough. I'll just edit the connection and update the definition. For now, I'm going to go ahead and move over to my stage component. This is what we're going to be creating in this video. So I'm going to select Create New. So I'm going to create a new stage. And I'm going to use the SQL Native 10 as my source. In this case, we're actually sourcing the component from SQL Server. We're also using a SQL Server instance as the destination. That absolutely doesn't have to be the case. It just happens to be the simplest way for me to demo this. So I'm using this SQL Native 10 client as my source. I'm going to select that template. I'm going to give this a name. We'll call it product. We give it a description, and at the source section of the definition, we need to go and actually select that source profile that we created in the previous video. So I'm going to browse my local file system here, and I'm going to go to where I actually have that saved. I was in my source project, and we call it product. After I do that, first of all, before I do anything, I want to just point out that the save button is still disabled at this point. And that's because we can't save a stage component without having a source available. So I'm going to go ahead and click the upload file button. And when I do that, the file, of course, is being uploaded and parsed. And once it's done being parsed, we'll get a response back. In this case, the response says success. The profile package has been detected and parsed successfully. So that means that we were able to detect all of the connection string, all of the fields, and the metadata describing those fields. Next, I need to select a connection for my source. Now, I could either select to create a new connection, and if I do that, then I'll be creating a new connection based on the connection that was included in my profile package, which is actually exactly what I want to do. And then I have to also select a destination connection. So my destination is going to be the connection that we just created. It's going to be my stage database for this entire project. So I'm all set. I'm going to click Save now. And I now have a stage component that's ready to be used downstream. And we can look at the details of it now. Once again, when I'm in the header section here, I can see that I have a stage component. It's called product. It's using the template here for SQL Native 10 as a source. And I can edit this component if I need to. I can also go to the detail of the component by clicking Component Detail. And that's going to show me exactly what was detected or what was parsed from that profile package. So let's take a minute and just go over this screen. The first thing I have up here is a source parameter value assignment. Because this particular profile included a parameter in the SQL statement, if you remember we used a start date, we detected that parameter and are making it available to assign a value to here. We're going to do that in just a second. In the next section here, we have our field list. So the fields, of course, being all the fields that were detected in our source or in our profile package. I can click on any of those fields, such as name. Before I do that, actually, let me just point out that we have the data type listed here. Whether or not an aggregation has been applied, of course, nothing's been applied yet. We're just now bringing the data in. We can see usage if this particular field has been used anywhere downstream, which it has not yet, whether it's nullable, and where the source is. So this is source product, and it's using the field called name. If I click on that name field, that'll bring me to the field definition form. And here I don't have a lot of options here because the stage component is pretty much locked down. All we're doing here is just bringing the data from the source to a destination. But I could add a description. And I can also reorder the fields if I wanted to. And I can create statistics. And this is actually what we're going to be doing here to assign a value to our parameter. I'm going to update this name to include my description. So now I can see that it does have a description called product name. And I'm going to move now down to my modified date. Actually, it's up here, modified date. And I'm going to go and look at that field definition. The modified date is what we have set our profile package to use as a parameter for the value of the modified date is what we have as a parameter. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to collect a statistic on that field, which is the maximum value of the modified date. So what's going to happen is after this component stages the data, a subsequent query is going to be run. It's going to just simply take the max of the field that I have selected here, the modified date, and it's going to store that information so that I can use it either in this component or anywhere else within the entire project. But I also need to give this component an initial value. And what that means is when I initially, or default value, when I initially run this component, it has to have a value for the statistic to place in the or to use anywhere that the stat has been utilized. So this value, 2000 January 1, is what we're going to use in the initial or the default value placeholder. So I'm going to update modified date, and I've created a statistic, so I can see now that this modified date has been used one time. And then I'm going to go back now to my modify parameters screen here, because I want to assign a value to my start date. And the value I want to assign is going to be a statistic. Statistics are the only thing it's going to allow me to assign to parameters. So I'm going to select the statistic that I just created, which is the max of the modified date, and I'm going to update that. So I'm done. Just like that, I've actually created an incremental load for the stage table. First in my profile package, I set the placeholder to make it available to manipulate by setting a statistic to the modified date value. And now that I'm in my stage component, I'm just tying all that together, creating a statistic and using that statistic as the start date value. And that's really it. We just created our stage component. We can now use this component downstream. I guess I should point out that it might be obvious, but if you didn't have any parameters in your stage component, then there wouldn't be an option here to assign a parameter value. So we're all set. We'll see you in the next video, which is the PSA video.